You recognize this, I'm sure. This is the beginning of our Lord's public ministry, as Luke portrays it. He went back to Nazareth. He had been elsewhere and had been teaching in their synagogue and was praised by all. But he goes back to Nazareth, and there, as was the custom for a visitor who was respected, to read the text. And so they give it to him to read, and he reads. It's difficult to know. Did they have readings that were set out? Seems they did, you know, like today you read this, next week you read that, and so forth. It says he found. Does that mean he found it himself, looked for it and found it, or he opened up and that's what he was supposed to read? In any event, he read this passage as the passage that governs his whole ministry. This is the passage. The Spirit of the Lord is upon me. He has anointed me to preach good news to the poor. That's the gospel, to the poor. To proclaim liberty to captives, recovery of sight to the blind. That's his ministry. That's what he's sent to do. And let the oppressed go free. And so it's a way of seeing, like all of our Lord's ministry, those years that he was preaching and teaching and healing and performing miracles, it's this text that explains what he was all about. And that's why Luke, does it this way. Kind of it's important, though I don't want to go on too long, for us to realize that for the ancients, writing about someone, time and place are not the big issues. Did this really happen before this? Or was he here or was he there? It's amazing. For them, that's not important. And it's very important for us to grasp that, because you could crack your poor head trying to figure out, well now, according to Mark and Matthew, the way he began his public ministry was to be walking along the sea, remember, and call the disciples. And when he got here, there wasn't anybody liked him a lot. And they were all, and he couldn't even work many miracles there because of their lack of faith. And this is the way Luke starts. Well now, if you have to put all that together in a chronological order, you're going to have a problem. But it's just that isn't, you see, they didn't have our technology where we control, what is technology? Well, it means technique, right? It means skill in doing stuff. And we're good at that. But the way we do it is you dominate it. You have to. You have to dominate the qualities of steel before you can build a bridge. So if you're going to write the life of somebody, you have to dominate it. He did this, they did this, then he did this, and this happened before this. But they don't think that way. In fact, the influence of the West on the East, speaking of the Middle East, was enormous in just this point. To this day, everybody but Americans and Germans are late for everything. You ever notice that? They're not late. It's arbitrary. However, I say that because if you take it seriously and look at the text, you're going to say somebody doesn't have it straight. Well, you have to define straight. They're trying to mediate to you a knowledge and a love of Jesus. And Luke wants to put this text right at the top. This explains our Lord Jesus Christ and his whole ministry.